A few years ago, we were blessed with Super Mario 64 Online. It was an amazing way to experience this gem of a game together with pals. I would love to see the same apply to Donkey Kong 64. Yeah, there's the original multiplayer mode that exists as the couch co-op battle, but I'd love to see a whole new experience to play the main story as multiplayer. I have no idea what it takes to make such a thing happen, so someone, please do it. Easier said than done, I'm sure, but I find the approach to be really interesting in comparison. With Mario Online, the available characters to play as were really no more than different skins to Mario. It's not like Wario could access or accomplish parts of the game differently, so to have 5 very different characters, well, you see where I'm going with this. The characters are different. So how does one even go about such a thing? A couple ideas come to mind. It would be interesting if 5 players were able to come together and select one of the 5 Kongs to play as full-time. You'll play as Diddy Kong, I'll play as Lanky, and so on. There's a handful of plot holes in this setup though. For one, I can see this getting boring really fast. Part of the charm in DK64 is having 5 different characters to swap through. There could also be complications in needing a Kong at a specific place in time, and the player controlling that Kong not being available or nearby. And finally, 5 is a pretty unusual number of players. So with that in mind, I think there should be a swapping system, basically an online tag barrel. If 4 players are grouped together, that leaves 1 Kong for them to swap around if needed. If I'm playing as Chunky Kong and suddenly come upon a large cliff that requires Tiny to fly over, I can swap her in if the Kong is unused by any players. I'm not entirely sure what's the easiest or cleanest method to swapping Kongs. I suppose players will still need to access the tag barrel. And if 2 players want to swap Kongs, I guess both would have to visit a tag barrel at the same time. But that's some hardcore Gen 1 Pokemon kind of mentality. I'm certain there could be a way to simply swap Kongs with the press of a button or 2. Why make it any more difficult, right? But I imagine such a mode would open the door to fun ways to cheese the game. Once multiplayer became available in the Super Mario games, players discovered how broken the mode is and found ways around beating the level that wasn't the intended way. And with these old 64 games, who knows what kind of glitches will be discovered and abused. Jumping off of other players, glitching past walls, who knows? Imagine how busted Fungi Forest would be with the player camping at the clock and changing the time of day instantly. Or a player taking out the giant Kosha immediately, making Crystal Caves an easier experience for everyone else. Perhaps players will find new, unique ways to reach some of the trickier golden bananas, similar to troubleshooting puzzles in Portal 2. And these are just ideas for completing the main game. I can only imagine what kind of self-imposed fun can be created, like a game of hide and seek or tag. But with a multiplayer mode, I like the idea of players being able to complete a world together, knocking out a room together in a matter of minutes, or bouncing around the entire world on your own. Either way, it won't take much time to get to that boss fight. Or players could take on a world of their own. I really like Fungi Forest, I'll take care of that world while you take on Gloomy Galleon. This method might be significantly more challenging and time-consuming if all the Kongs aren't available to you. I imagine boss fights will have to remain the same. While Armadillo could probably be defeated by any Kong, it's not like anyone else has a chance against Mad Jack. Unless it's possible to actually make those jumps? I don't know, kind of hard to judge that one. However, there's King Cutout that can be played and defeated by any Kong. So perhaps that's the one boss fight that will be chaotic with all players battling it out in the room. Not sure what changes could be made to the final fight against K-Rool. It's not like the other Kongs can really do anything when focused on Diddy's portion or Tiny's portion of the fight. Perhaps players will take turns, tagging each other in when one segment is complete. Or perhaps the game could be designed so players can do their segments simultaneously. But as for the main gameplay, I say all Kongs should be available from the start. It would be awkward and time-consuming to try to rush unlock the ball when someone's just waiting to play as Chunky. The golden banana rewards can still be there though, just an awkward empty jail cell with a banana waiting inside. I've been trying to decide on how to go about the collectibles. Colored bananas, banana coins, and golden bananas are all locked to specific Kongs. But does it make sense to change the game so that any player can collect any banana? For the sake of less backtracking, my gut says yes, please. But this is multiplayer. I think removing the Kong-specific collectibles takes away some of the charm of wanting to play as that character, as well as the value in that collectible. I mean, don't get me wrong, if someone is able to cheese it and reach a bonus barrel with the wrong Kong, I'm not gonna stop them. In fact, props to you for making it happen. But I don't know, I go back and forth in my head. We might disagree on this topic alone, so let me know in the comments what kind of collectible system makes the most sense in a multiplayer mode. But with the rotating character system, I like the idea of some players focusing on specific challenges. I'll work on the DK arcade game, you'll knock out that beaver bother. One person will focus on collecting all the blueprints, and the other on banana fairies. It could be a real time saver and actually removing more backtracking. A win-win. Now, there are some collectibles I believe should change. It's more specific to the items. Gun ammo, orange grenades, musical instruments, crystal coconuts, and so on should be tied to each individual player, and not a joint collectible like the original game. This will help players from being stranded without certain items and scrambling to replenish the crystal coconuts because someone used it all up. No, really, something like Diddy's jetpack really eats up those resources. It would be a shame to see it go 4 or 5 times faster. Now, as for upgrades, those will be shared with the class. Keeping it as is from single player, the ammo upgrades, Simian Slam upgrades, Watermelon Life upgrades, and such will be shared across the board with all Kongs and players. I'm not even certain if enough coins are available in the game for each Kong to do each upgrade on their own, so we'll just keep it as is. Well, I hope you enjoyed walking through the different theories I have for an online multiplayer mode. I love seeing both old and new games being modded for endless online fun. It's been an interesting time to be alive. But what are your thoughts on a DK64 online? If it were to ever happen, what would you add to this list? Or what would you change? Do you have any unique ideas that come to mind? This kind of game opens the door to a variety of wild situations. So let me know your thoughts in the comments. Thanks, and take care.